Good morning. We're starting with Kuf Tzadi Tet. We're continuing with Seif Vav. Chalel Tvilata b'Motzei Shabbat. So now she has to go to the mikvah on Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night. V'hu Yom Tov. And it's also Yom Tov. She is Sharlachuf. So she can't properly bathe and get rid of all the knots and everything. So what does she do? As tachuf be'erev Shabbos. So of course, what does she do? Erev Shabbos. Well, it's going to be right. Erev Shabbos is when she does everything. This is right, even according to the Shulchan Aruch. V'chein im chalu shnei yamim tovim biyom chamishi v'shishi v'chalel tvilata belel Shabbat tachuf biyom revi'i. Now again, in rare circumstances, you can end up with, I guess we call it a 3-day yontiv or whatever it is. And you have to even do it a couple days before. So in this case, it's Friday night. So then she's doing her everything on Wednesday, which is right, because she can't. If it's Friday night, she can't. It would be similar if it was even Motzei Shabbos. It could also be, but whatever it is, she has to do it the soonest day possible. But then, of course, 1 second, tachuf biyom revi'i. So there. Obviously, as close to as possible. She'll do it the day before Shabbos and Yantiv, whatever the whole series is. She'll do it before. B'Shabbat during of the week. V'tikshor sa'arotea, and then she ties her hair. Kadei shelo yitbal bilu. So what she has to do in the meantime, since it could be a day or two or more, so then she just has to tie her hair in a way so that it's very unlikely for it to make any knots, and then when she goes to the mikvah, she's still going to have to check. Haga, let's keep reading. I think we should keep going. Haga, agam, tizeher b'yamim shebein ha-Chafifah latvila mikol tinofet. So she must be very careful during this time period, but it's not samuch, it's not right away, that she keeps herself clean. From any kind of anything that can get stuck to her. It could be sticky stuff, dirty stuff. V'lo she'yidbak b'shum davar, gam minigia tavshilin o menetinatan lebanei katanim tizaher im efshar la lizaher im hem dvarim anidbakim. So she must do whatever she can to do her best to make sure nothing sticks, and then obviously if she knows, then she can wash her hands with soap, whatever afterwards. V'im but if she has no choice, no one else is going to cook for the family or take care of the kids, so then she does it, and it's okay. But then wash your hands to make sure there's no Chatzitzah. And then when it comes to the mikvah, she's about to go, right, it's been a day or two or more. So then she has to make sure that she checks that very well, the body, her hair, that there should not be any Chatzitzah. And then she should use warm water to make sure everything is wet. And, sometimes we need a little bit longer for soaking, especially for wounds, or scabs or things like that, whatever it is. We just make sure, and for the Beit Hastarim and crevices, we've got to make sure we still do a little bit of whatever we can do to clean. And you could even warm up water for this purposes on Yom Tov. V'chein tachtzot shinea betov. Make sure she flosses and cleans her teeth very well. Bishat hatvila, when she goes to the mikvah, shelo yishe'er perurin velo basar velo etzem, so that there's no meat and no bones stuck in between. He says, look in Siman Kuf Tzadi Zayin, look back. Im lochal tvilatam b'motzei Shabbat, im tuchal litbol b'motzei Shabbat. If you can choose to go on a Motzei Shabbos, even if that wasn't her night. So look over there. What sometimes comes up is if a person needs to go to the mikvah on Friday night, especially if you live in a location and the season where it says could be, let's say, 10 o'clock at night or later or whatever it is. It's just too late for the family. So ideally, the woman should go to the bathe before Shkia, go to the mikvah either after Shkia or after Tzeis, we discussed, and then eat her meal for Friday night. So again, different communities and different situations, a little bit different how to deal with it. Ideally, she would be just to wait to eat. But if her whole family is eating before, let's say, Plaga Mincha, is what many people do in these places, so then either she can wait if it's not noticeable or a problem, but if it's a problem or it's noticeable and whatever, it creates problems, so then she should just preferably avoid any foods that are easy to get stuck between her teeth, preferably to avoid, strands of meat or things like that. All right. I don't know. Ask your Rav, ask your community how it's done. Okay, let's go to Zayin. Bimkomot shiraot litbol balayla, ein lahatir lachuf me'erev Shabbat v'litbol biyom Shabbat. The trei kule behadade lo mekilin lo mekilan. Mekilinan kula disrach bita. Okay. We're not going to combine two kulas together, or these two kulas in particular. In other words, let's say she's in a place where she's embarrassed or cannot dip at nighttime, so then she wants to go during the day. So we discussed there are times when we let her go during the day, if necessary. Usually we're talking about the 8th day. And so the question is, can she also do, Chafifah during the day beforehand? Belitbol bayom, right? That's two kulas. One. Of Shabbos day. Right. The question is, but do you let her do Chafifah during the day? So the truth is, that's lechatchila according to the Rashi and how the Ashkenazim generally follow. But for most Sfardim, that's really a big kula. We only want to do it at night. So here, so it depends if you're doing no Chafifah during the day. Okay. The second day, I'm saying. So trei kuli v'day lo mekilian kula disrach bita. That's one kula, because we don't let you go during the day. So it's a big kula. On certain circumstances, we let her go during the day on the 8th day. The kula de'archakas chafifa mitvila, and then it's a kula of making it so far away. But I guess ask your Rav how to deal with it if necessary. Maybe you can do a partial chafifa. Okay. But try not to right. Fine, let's go on. Chet. Bimei chol v'kol shekain b'yom tov. Now during the week and certainly yom tov. Im chafafa v'ayin atzma hayom. If she did the chafifa and checked today, atzma hayom. V'tavla b'layla yom b'leil yom acher. And so then on that night she goes and she dips. Alta la tvila. So b'di'evid, she did the entire chafifa and the entire checking during the day, and then she went to dip at night without doing another chafifa, minor chafifa or full chafifa or checking. So then we say alta la tvila b'di'avad. Only b'di'evid that works. I believe it means that next night. In other words, like 5 hours later, for example, or 8 hours later, because it's the next night. It's not the night before, it's the next night. Well, 10 a.m., let's say she does the chafifa in the morning at 10 a.m., and then 12 hours later, she goes to the mikveh. That's the next day already. So I think that's Belil Yom Acher. Alta la tvila b'diavad, afa pi shelo hayu chafifa, even though ubedika samach letvila. So you see, it wasn't adjacent, the chafifa and checking to the tvila. Aval imlo chafafa klal, but if a woman did not do chafifa at all, lo alta la tvila. So then her tvila did not work. You have to do at least some level of chafifa or combing of the hair or something. Well, it's both. Right? It's okay. So yeah, you have to do Chafifah in order for it to work. Bathing and combing. Even if she checked her body, so let's say she didn't do any Chafifah before, and then, but she looked at her body and she didn't see any, checking with water and separating your hair. That's a very minor level of Chafifa, not really good enough, but b'diavad that might be good enough. But here, you didn't do any Chafifa at all, you just looked. So then, and then you check afterwards with Chafifa, with a comb, v'sarka b'masrek, afterwards. So it's not to remove. Now, when you're doing your Chafifa and you're combing afterwards, it's not in order to remove Chatzitzah. It's really what you're doing is just checking. And velo matzah, shum nima kishura. And none of their hair was stuck. There were no knots. It was perfect. So then still, lo alta la tvila. Certainly, if she does chafifa barosh, her hair, but she didn't look at her body at all. So it doesn't work. Checking, right, this we discussed yesterday, doing a to check the body, this is a din Torah. Okay. Tet. This is the entire body. Aval bebeit hastarim. There's a kula by beit hastarim. A miut hamakpid is midarabanan, especially bebeit hastarim. So therefore, kevan she'ein srichim lebiat mayim. And so it's a little bit lower level of necessity of water getting in, especially if you look in the Rishonim, there's really different madregas of what's necessary. So then, kevan she'ein srichim lebiat mayim, im lo ayna otam kodem lechein. What if she didn't check her mouth before, and she went to the mikvah, v'achar kach ayna otam, and then she looked afterwards, v'lo matza behem shum davar al tela tvila. So if a person did zero bedika beforehand, no chafifa, no bedika whatsoever before she went to the mikvah, and then she comes on out, and then she checks herself, and she sees that there's no chatzitzah on her entire body. So we say, b'di'evid, it's not good, because she didn't do anything, and she didn't check. Except for beit hastarim, those areas we say, if it's b'di'evid, and she checks and she sees there's no chatzitzah afterwards, then we say b'di'evid, it's okay, and the tefillah works. Good. Chafifah b'ayna b'tavla iyana. So she checks, she bathes, she checks, and then she goes to the mikvah. And then she finds, right, so she did everything perfect, but then when she gets out of the water, now she finds a chatzitzah. So im betoch ona shechafafa tavla ina tzricha tvila acheret. So it's like this. If im betoch ona shechaf, if she did everything the way she was supposed to, and she went to the mikvah within the same period of day or night. We had this a long time ago, right? The day or night. It's not an issue of hours. It's an issue of day or night. If it's in the same, same window of day or night, so then we say it works because she did everything she was supposed to, and she went to the mikvah, within not too far apart, and therefore we say it works. That's why before it said Yom Acher. Aval, v'im lav, but if she went to the mikvah during the day, and then at night if she did the bathing and checking during the day, and then at night is when she went to the mikvah, without redoing any of the bathing and checking, so that's a different day, it's a different ona, one is day, one is night, and so therefore, v'im lav tzricha tevila acheret, and she needs to go to the mikvah again. Haga, afa pisha haita chafifa samuch latvila, even if it was pretty close together. Higon shechafafa biyom samuch le'erev. She went a little bit before shkia to do the chafifa. V'tavla b'tchilat halayla, and after shkia she Well, I guess, well, certainly if it's after Tseis, I'll leave it as a question mark bein hashmashos. But let's say she went to the mikveh after Tseis, but usually we assume it's Shkia, but okay, for Shailas, I'll leave that open. Since it's in two separate periods, she has to go to the mikveh again. It wasn't good enough. Rambam benkach tzricha tevila acheret, and according to the Rambam, either way, whether it's in the same or not, a different ona, she needs to go to the mikveh again. El shezo eina tzricha lachzor lachuf v'zeh tzricha. The difference is if it's in the same or not, a different ona, if you need to do the whole chafifah again. Of course, you have to check and go to the mikveh again. But the question is, you also have to do Chafifah again. Okay, let's do Yud Aleph. So when do we say that she has to go to the mikveh again? That's if there's nothing else to be told on. Let's keep reading, we'll explain. About imhi nit askabo. Bein tvila lebedika. Wait a second. About im nit askabo. Bein tvila lebedika. Eina tzricha tvila acheret. Shani tola oto bemin shenit askabo. Right? She did the chafifa and the ayina, whatever, before, and then she went to the mikvah. So we said she has to go again if it's in a different ona. So then, Bamed Dvarim Amorim, B'shelo nit'aska be'oto hamin achar hatvila. So when are we machmer? When she didn't do anything after she got out of the mikvah. Oh, right. The case is she found a Chatzitzah on her body. So this case is she did everything the way she was supposed to. When she gets out of the mikvah, she finds a Chatzitzah on her body. So now we normally say, well, listen, it came from nothing else, right? She just walked out of the mikvah, let's say, and there's nothing there but water and tiles. There's nothing else to stick to her. And then she finds a Chatzitzah. Well, if it's immediate, so then I think no matter what, she needs to dip again. But whatever, let's keep reading. Each case, Lagufo. Here, let's say she walks out, a few minutes goes by, or she's walking in the street, and then she realizes, and then she finds a Chatzitzah. But if between going to the mikvah and then finding the Chatzitzah, well, she was cooking, she was doing something that may have caused the Chatzitzah. So then, this is between the tvila and when she checks after the tvila. Then she does not need to check again. She doesn't need to do another tvila. Shani tola oto bemin shnit askabo, because we tola again. We assume that when she went to the mikvah, she was tahor. She checked the way she was supposed to. She went in, and now she was. We assume it was something else. About im lo chafifah kodem tvila, ein tolin bo. But if she didn't do chafifah before tvila, then we're never tola. We're only tola if she did the proper chafifa and bedika before. Again, here when I say the words bedika, it's checking her body for chatzitza. It's not bedika spinim. That's why here it's uses iana. Okay, but all right. So here avaim lo chafifa kodem tevila ein tolim bo afal pishin aska bo achar tevila. If she never did a proper chafifa and bedika before for chatzitza for her body, then the fact that we never tola. Only if everything was done, kadasu kedin, so then after the fact, we're tola. That's if but I believe there needs to be a little bit, there has to be something to be tola on, right? That there's a little gap of time and she was doing something, so then we could be more mekel. Yud bet. Again, what did we say until now? Bishar kol aguf. That's when it's the entire body. That's the normal body checking for chatzitza. Aval. Let's explain. Beit hastarim, but when it comes to the beit hastarim, right inside the mouths are certain folds that are usually not visible. Im lo iana otam kodem tvila. So she did her chafifa, but she did not check these areas. She forgot. Did not check her mouth or the armpits or other areas like that. Viachar tvila, and then after the tvila, gam came lo iana ad shenit aska bedavar achotzeitz. And then she also did not, um, so she didn't check until later on, until she was dealing with something that's chotzeitz. V'achar kach nimtza behem me'oto amin. And then from those items that she was dealing with, food got stuck to her that she was cooking with. So then we could be totally in the hakel. There's a little bit more room to be makel. Of course, it depends a little bit of the mitzias and you know, what's covered up and how tightly is it covered up. Undergarments, we said we used sometimes lakula before, by ktamim. So here, so it depends. Whatever is reasonable, there you may be able to tola. Fine, let's finish a gimel. Chafifah kodem tevila. Now, she does chafifa before she goes to the mikveh, right? Like normal. Ubein chafifa letvila, and between chafifa and then tvila, nitaska b'dvarim achotzitzim, and now she starts dealing with things that can be a chatzitza, food or glue, for example, anything that can make sticky and be a problem. Oh, shenatana livna tafshil haroy lidabigba. You give food to you serve food to your children that can stick to you. Lo alta la tvila. So she did a chafifa, but then she was nitasik with things that are chotzitzim, that can cause a barrier. And then she went to the mikveh without checking. So then we say, well, we'll keep reading. Lo al tala tvila, the tvila didn't work. Afili im badka miyad achar tvila, even if immediately after she gets out of the water, she checks. Velo matzaleh shum chotzitz, and she did not find any chatzitza as she's getting out of the water. It's not good enough because she dealt with something that can easily cause a chatzitza, and she didn't check her body between touching something that can be a chatzitza to going into the mikvah. Shani Omer, why? Right away, there's no chatzitza when she gets out of the water. That's not a raya. Shani Omer, ba'aliyata mehamayim, when she gets out of the water, nafal mimena. It could be that when she gets out of the water, as she's getting out of the water, she was in the, especially nowadays, a warm water. She was in the water long enough. If you let something soak in warm water, it gets looser and can fall off. As she gets off, it falls off. But when she first went in and did her full dunking, it didn't get soft and loose enough to break off of her skin. But then it falls off only when she gets out of the water. So then, sricha tevila acheret. So that she must go to the mikveh again because when she was in the mikveh, maybe it was all stuck to her. Haga.
What about story?
Beit hastarim. So it depends on the case. We have to review if it's possible for it to get to there, and if she originally did a chafifa or not. But I believe, in general, for Beit Hastarim, we would say after the fact, if she didn't find the chatzitza, we said it's okay. We're not worried about Shama Nafal when it comes to Beit Hastarim. Okay. Haga, mihu. Imbadka atzma kodem tvila, if she checked herself before she does the tvila, virata shalonit bak bashum davar, and she sees there is no chatzitza whatsoever. Right? She did a bedika before tvila. Everything looks good. She goes into the water. Eina tzricha tvila acheret. She does not need to do another tvila. Aval muteret lilbosh begadea bein aval muteret lilbosh begadea bein chafifa letvila. It's mutter for her to get dressed between doing chafifa and going into the mikvah, right? A woman in the mikvah, she can wear a robe from one to another. If she goes from the house to the mikvah, of course she wears clothing. Velotikach tinok etzla, but don't take a child with you because they could be right, touching. They can have mud or dirt, becomes mud, food, and then that can get stuck to you.